So I've talked about this a lot, mostly through audio. So this is like the first time I've talked about it on screen, essentially. But you know, it's no secret that I'm a fan of what's known as the lustful melt gag. You know, where a character melts into a puddle of goop. You know, at the attraction of another or something, or any kind of interpretation of it. Especially, and I say it with all due respect, no offense, all due respect, no offense. Especially when a female character, is able to do it. Especially as I was trying to say, if it's involved as part of the story, or takes part as part of a story. And there have been numerous, and I mean numerous stories that I've discovered throughout the past 6, 7 years. On the internet, whether it's DeviantArt, Firmfinian, Ink Bunny, you name it, where I have seen and met and sort of befriended, as well as subscribed to and support several people that feel the same way that I do. From Mr. Internet Man with his Demonica Veronica character to now TroubleTRO and Jovin16 and Nextstat and so on. I've supported them, kind of befriended them and everything, and enjoyed what I see with the work and have a lot of respect and appreciation for what they bring to the table. I really do. Because, they're taking time out of their busy schedules and out of their personal lives to, make these stories, these web comics, these animations a reality. So, when I look at something like Science Experiment, which was basically one of the newer, uh, I guess you could say, SFM web comics and collaborations that TroubleTRO and Mr. Internet Man have done, as I've talked about numerous times when I've brought it up through various audio videos and podcasts. um, when I read the description of the fact that these two scientists, one basically, is the scientist that discovers this power or brings this power into being with her experimenting, and the other sort of being like a little above her, like a boss or something like that. Um, Basically, when they get a hold of this power, which is provided by a meteorite, the way the description puts it is it changes the lives, and changes their lives and takes them on, an erotic journey that will change them forever, literally change them forever. And boy, that description, you know, in that manner, well, not so much in that manner, but kind of close to it. That description, definitely has lived up to the hype because, for the past 18 weeks, this has been going on for, yeah, this story's been going on for 18 weeks. It's in 18 parts so far. It's got more to go. I even asked in a message to Trouble TRO how many parts this is going to be, and this is a big thing. And if Mr. Internet Man is involved, what as far as the writing goes, he's no stranger, as I've seen on DeviantArt, to doing long stories. He's used to doing long stories sometimes, especially when it comes to crossing over characters. He's used to doing long stories and stuff, or being part of long stories, himself, because there's one that he did called Crossing into Madness with what's the name, ARY01, I think. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Basically, where they did like one part of the story, and then ARY01 did the other part, and it's a massive story. It is a massive story all across the board. It's with, between both artist writers, if you will. So Mr. Internet Man, on his own and in collaboration with people, is no stranger to this. He's no stranger. So, I asked basically Trouble TRO how many parts this is going to be. Now, as of this recording, they have not yet answered me. They have not yet answered me. So hopefully I'll find out soon down the line. I might add in the description, update the description, I should say, of how many parts, it's going to be. So if you want to, invest in supporting Trouble TRO in these kind of projects on Patreon, I will provide a link to the story so you guys can, check it out yourselves. You guys can check it out yourselves and support it, if you will, as I just make sure I'm recording here. But yeah, that way you can support it and check it out yourselves. Now, again, getting back to science experiment though, like I said, the description basically what it says this meteorite is going to. Matter of fact, let me see if I can bring it up here so I can get a better reading of it, if you will. As I look up here on Patreon, just in case you guys are listening audio wise. But it says here, here's the description. It says, two women's lives are drastically changed due to a miraculous discovery that alters the world in a okay, let me reread that. It says, and I quote, two women's lives are drastically changed due to a miraculous discovery that alters the world in a way neither could have imagined or ever imagined. Together they embark on an erotic journey that will change them in many unexpected ways. So basically, as I kind of described in my own way of trying to remember the description, it's definitely lived up to that hype because not only has the two ladies gone through a lot of drastic changes, shape shifting, and all that, but now they are basically faceless latex liquid drones, or faceless drones made of liquid latex that are basically pretty much, as one of them describes in the recent part, just formless blobs that could shapeshift into whatever they want to be or whoever they want to be. And what's interesting about Mr. Internet Man's collaborations with people like, let's say, TroubleTRO or Nextstat or whoever else is mostly they involve his character Demonica Veronica or whatever character he just or even I should say, or even some original characters like here in Science Experiment. Sometimes it just involves them going the melty gooey route, if you will, from an LGBTQ, and I say that with all due respect, no offense, LGBTQ lesbian way. It usually results in them going in that route, in that direction, and at the end of it, basically potentially fusing together. They will end up fusing together into someone different, and then sometimes the story will end just like that, and it's left up to your imagination, or the story will end and just like that, but then kind of have like a to be continued or to be concluded, and then you have to wait maybe another couple of months before you get a resolution or something like that. But it usually ends with a fusion, and I'm not denying that's not going to happen here. But the direction they're going in potentially for this part is something that to me is not out of the realm for Mr. Internet Man to do, because he does this with his Demonica Veronica character on several occasions in his webcomics based on her, and that's basically going the more inanimate molecular, if you will, route. In other words, becoming a vehicle, becoming a car, because because basically the scientist, who is I think the black latex faceless drone now, basically hints at the fact of okay, well, yeah, she kind of basically brings up the fact of, oh, why do we want to take our cars, or either one of our cars? That's so boring. Why do that when we could actually create our own? So that basically kind of tells you where the next part is heading, to where either one of them is going to turn themselves into a car, and the other is going to be the rider, or both of them are going to come together and become a car. Like one will probably become the car itself, and the other will become its coating or something like that, and you kind of get like a car fusion of them into one, and then go from there. So we'll see what happens. Again, I don't know how many parts this is going to be. Hopefully, like I said, I'll get an answer. But yeah, it definitely shows you that, it definitely shows you in a way that, as I've mentioned before, when you work with somebody that is so used to putting this, kind of trope into the stories with their own characters, original characters, that, that the possibilities are endless. Like you can go in any direction now, especially when you have characters, embrace being shape-shifting, faceless, latex liquid drones that are basically now just, formless blobs, puddles of blob puddles that can become anyone or anything they want. You could go in the possibilities to, of what direction you can go in with them, is endless. It is absolutely endless. And, I cannot wait to see what happens in the next part or so. But what's interesting about this, though, again, like I said, I don't know how many parts it's going to be. Like I said, I don't know how many parts it's going to be. But what's interesting is I just take the time there again. But what's interesting about this, and let me check my time one more time. Hold on, guys. But what's interesting about this is basically the timing, because we are, what is it? Well, only 11 days into April, so we still have time. But the timing of this is almost, ironic, I should say. It's almost ironic because every year, we have a month. We have a month that is dedicated to the melting trope, the lustful melting trope, whatever you want to call it, called Melting May. So it's kind of ironic that this story might be basically continuing on into Melting May. And to me, that's kind of, the timing couldn't be more ironic or coincidental, because in Melting May, everybody does a story or web comic where a character, mostly a female character, and I say that with all due respect, no offense, sometimes of the LGBTQ perceptive, lesbian perceptive, again, say that with all due respect, no offense. Basically, they will, temporarily or permanently develop powers to melt into puddles of goop and all that, from a sensual standpoint or a mischievous standpoint, whatever, and just go from there. I know that what's her name? I can't even think of it. Dizzy Arts. I know Dizzy Arts. She's currently working on the rough draft, if not the final draft, of this year's third installment of her Melting Me series. And it looks like this might have a little bit more character development to it, but it's probably going to go down the same similar path as the last one. But, again, what makes it fun is the main focus is the characters melting and becoming puddles and fusions and all that. So again, I find it ironic that this collaboration by TroubleTRO and Mr. Internet Man might be heading into, if not concluding, somewhat in May, during the Melting May time, or Melting May theme of that month. So I find it kind of ironic and, coincidental that might be happening. But again, in closing, like I said, this is something that honestly, if you're into this kind of creativity where people's imaginations can run wild, goes, as far as, the unlimited imaginations can let them, I highly recommend supporting TroubleTRO and Mr. Internet Man with these kind of stories. And, by supporting them, you can potentially get the chance to see more of these stories come to life. And also check out Dizzy Arts on DeviantArt, because she has the Metamorphosized Malleability series that I've talked about, as well as this Melting Me series that, again, shows how far your unlimited creativity can go when not held back and all that. But yeah, I just find it kind of coincidental that the timing couldn't be more ironic than, between the two things, if you will. And again, I highly recommend checking out Science Experiment on Patreon at TroubleTRO. I'll provide the link down below. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all later. But, let me know what your thoughts are.